Greetings to you, our viewers, and welcome to Her Prime Voice. Today we bring you one of the least talked about topics, titled Being a Minister's Wife. Oftentimes we see this woman next to our minister in church, sitting there quietly next to our minister, interceding for him. She is a woman known for her best hugs and the brightest smile. And most of the time we call her the First Lady of the house. Today we have three women with three different stories. They'll be sharing with us their experiences in terms of what it really means to be a minister's wife. We are here today so that they may try to lead us into what it really means to be a minister's wife. My ladies, welcome to the show. Welcome to Her Prime Voice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll just ask us briefly to introduce ourselves, who we are, and our who we're married to, where we affiliate in terms of the church, and our hobbies, probably our interest in life. We want to know you a bit better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. My name is Gcinekile Sharon Mokgwane. I'm South African.
Oh.
Hence the Gcinekile name.
Yes.
Yes, but I always give both my names to make it easier for people to call me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm married to Muluki Mokgwane, and we are pastoring at the AFM Muditsane branch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I love to do women's ministry the most.
Okay.
Like in ministry, because pastors' wives are called to different things.
Yeah.
But I love to do women's ministry, and some of the things that I love to do is to play with makeup, either on myself or on other people. There was a time when I used to do the brides a lot at church when they were getting married, even in previous congregations that we have been in. So yes, I like to do makeup, and if I'm disciplined, exercise as well, or jog. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, and my Kennedy.
Okay, my name is Miss Kennedy.
Yeah.
I got married to Pastor Kennedy. From, I would say, Dorota, because that's where my husband is coming from. But I would say one thing that I like to do, my hobby, I would say dancing. Even though I don't know how to dance, I like dancing.
Okay.
I just like to stay home and just chill, watch TV.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, hi. My name is Ntabi Singh, Natasha Bekanyo.
Yes.
I'm from Pretoria, South Africa.
Oh.
And I'm married to Kileboni Tekanyo. He's known as Dr. Tekanyo for many people. And we are leading a ministry called Penthouse Ministries. My hobbies. I think I'm a bookworm. I do not have hobbies. I read.
Okay.
Yeah, but on a serious note, I read a lot. I research, probably because I do counseling. So I read in a sense of trying to understand different people and understanding different backgrounds. So I read and research a lot. And I also watch crime movies.
Oh! That's your hobby?
Yes.
Oh, this is interesting. So we have three different women. We want to just start where it all started. How you met your partner. Just briefly, how you met your partner, and at what stage did you know that he was going to be a pastor? And at what stage of your relationship? Just so that we know a bit of your background together. Yes.
All right. We met in South Africa.
Okay.
By then it was called Wits Technikon. In the Doornfontein campus. There was a campus for sciences in Doornfontein and for finance in Auckland Park. So he was studying electrical engineering and I was studying food technology. Yes. So we met at the Student Christian Organization in 1998. Yes. And he had come to the institution a year before, in 1997. Yes, so I met him at the Student Christian Organization around February of 1998, and we became friends because we all lived outside of campus, but we would walk to our residences.
Okay.
So his group of guys and us, a group of girls, they would walk us, for safety reasons in the evenings after a service. They would walk us to our residence, and that is how our friendship developed. And around June, that is when we started realizing that we have more of an interest in each other beyond the friendship level. And soon after that, he told me actually about that he's had the call of God in his life ever since he was in Tirelo Sechaba in Molalatau here. And I had to deal with that then.
Yes.
So I dealt with it at the beginning of our relationship. Yeah, I don't know if you want to, because it can be a long story. But that is, I found out at the beginning of our dating that he
But
was
how
called to
did
be a
you
pastor.
feel about that?
I was nervous
Yeah.
and uncomfortable because I'm from the Assemblies of God in
Yeah.
South Africa.
Okay.
The Assemblies of God in South Africa is very strict. I don't know these days, but when I was young, I grew up in a very strict environment. And I didn't aspire to be a pastor's wife of the Assemblies of God. Not at all.
Oh, okay.
I didn't. I think I associated it with poverty.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's the background that I
Yeah.
came from.
Yeah.
But thank God that, as we, I forgot to mention that one of my hobbies is reading as well.
Okay.
Like,
Like the Gang.
the Gang, yes. And I used to read Believer's Voice of Victory from the Complete Ministries, so they would send me the magazine every day.
Okay.
So there was an article that really helped me there, and it spoke about how God does not purpose for us Christians to lack. Any Christian. So as I read, I realized that perhaps where I came from, being a pastor was associated with lack, not having much, but that was not actually God's plan.
Yeah.
And once I understood that and settled it in my heart, I was like, I really love this guy, we really get along. I can't let something like that be the only hindrance to us having a relationship. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you. Makinagi?
I would say we met in 2017. Just a quite interesting story how we met. Because we met in Real Park
Oh.
in a restaurant.
Oh.
I was ordering my food and he was taking his order.
Okay.
And that's how we met. It was like, hi, how are you? I'm good. Do I know you? That's no, don't know me. Can I have your number? Just like simple like that. Can I have your number? I was like, okay, take it, just like, take it. Then I went away.
Yeah.
Only if I knew.
Yeah.
After a few days, we met. Now we sat down and talk. He invited me for lunch at Game City.
Okay.
Then we sat down. He told me about his past. I told him about my past. But we met the second time by Moholitan Junction. When I saw him, I was like, this one is, there's something about him.
It's
Like,
different.
yeah, something different about him. Like, I was like, it's like he's a pastor. Okay.
Yeah.
Then we went to Game City. When we get there, we sat down and talked. And that's when we talked about everything. Then he told me that, you know what, I'm a pastor. That's my calling. But by that time, he was still submitting somewhere.
Okay.
Not yet running his own ministry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I told him, okay, no, I'm just a girl, church-going girl, nothing much.
Yeah.
But by then I knew God, so it was easy for me to understand few things, and that's how we met. Then I don't know. It was just that going through, talking through the phone, then next level, other level. Then we said, you know what? Let's just take it from here. Then we'll see where we go.
Did you feel like you would be able to be a mom with you?
No, because I'm young.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just only 23 right now. By that time, I was like 20.
Yeah. Oh, when you met,
Yeah, when we met, I was 20.
Oh.
Then we took like a year, then we got married. So I would say our relationship was long distance because by that time, after a few months of dating, he moved to South Africa. I was still schooling here at tertiary, then he was that side. So when he came back, that's when he got ordained as a pastor. Yeah. Then I was like, I was so nervous as he was saying, it's just too much.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm so so young, she being a pastor's wife, am I gonna be able to lead the congregation? Those kind of things, those fears. And I say, okay, everything happened for a reason.
Yeah.
There is a reason why we are together, and his intentions were very clear about me. He said, you know what, I want to get married. I don't want to date anymore. I just want to get married. I just want you to be my wife.
You knew what you wanted.
But that time I didn't take him serious. You know, I was like, okay, we'll see where we are going and everything. But I was so nervous. It was like, I'm so young. I didn't know anything that much. Even though where I was fellowshipping, I was in protocol team.
Okay.
Yes, so I was protocoling the wife of the pastor that side. Yeah. So I knew then the little thing. She always shared little things with me. So I had that knowledge. So I was like, you know what? I didn't have a problem, but here I am. That's okay.
Okay, Matikanya.
Okay, I think with me it's very different from theirs because I got married to a pastor. He had already become and leading a church. But how did we meet? We were actually friends on Facebook, but he was my pastor's friend and associate. So he would occasionally get invited to my church to come and preach. But though we didn't speak, but I could always tell this person I had him on my Facebook. And he's very reserved, so he was not posting anything, he was just quiet. And that was in 2016. 2017, I was like, 2017, we started talking. I got an inbox, hi, how are you? I'm good, I'm good. I like questioning a lot. At the time I was writing my book. And I've heard him preach a number of times. So I wanted to get his input on issues of relationships and blended families, divorce and all that. So I was asking him as someone who's close to my pastor, and I believed in his wisdom. So he would answer and give me insights. So that's how we connected. Started being friends and praying together and sharing and confiding in each other. We were friends for more than a year. And then we dated for 4 months, and then we got married.
Wow!
But overall, I knew him. He was my close friend. Very close. So we then got married.
So you didn't have any issues about being a pastor's wife?
Well, I think the theory of, or the perception that we're giving of a pastor's wife is what scares us the most. Because you are given this, the society's perception or the expectation of the society. So when you picture yourself as a Mamfundisi, you look at that as a standard. And if you don't fit, you feel like you are incapable of being a Mamuruti. But what I did is, I went to Google. I remember the night when he said, no, I want to pursue you. I went and I was like, being a pastor's wife. And scary stories came up. But one of the things that I learned is that you cannot be a Mamuruti unless you are a wife. So the first thing that I looked at was to look if I can be a wife and a helper to him. Because if I can be that, automatically I can be a Mamuruti. Because remember that the perception of the society regarding a Mamuruti, that's not the standard of God. Because I believe that we are all differently gifted. Like she does makeup, that's my dream and I can't do it. And that's okay. You see, that's being a Mamuruti. She does this, I can't do it, that's okay. But it works for her. I do counseling. And as a Mamuruti, it works for me. You see. So it's like having different colors that blend in together and make something really beautiful. So I think I was scared at first, but then I changed my perspective and looked at it from an angle of being a partner and being a wife. Then started realizing that living is just going to be easier if I'm a good wife.
Okay. So for you, his vision was clear.
It was, but another thing is, he was a pastor. I was already in ministry. I was already preaching.
Oh, you were already in ministry.
I've been preaching from 2009. So when he came and said I'm a pastor, I already had an insight because I was already in the field. So it wasn't hard to relate. The only challenge was being in this church because as a minister you get invited in different churches and go and preach. But this one is different. You are here. You are leading here. You have to interact with the same people and carry the burdens of the same people. So I think that's where I needed enhancement. Yes.
Okay. So his vision was clear. Were you able to just say, okay, this is the place where I want to submit? Was his vision clear? Because most of the time as women, we are told when a man comes, you need to know his vision. He needs to know who he is and where he is taking you. So I want to know if his vision was clear. If you could give us an example, like we are young women and we're coming up, what do we mean by vision and what, you know?
Alright.
Yeah.
Yes, his vision was very clear. Yeah, we met in South Africa,
Mm.
and I loved being South African. I couldn't go on. I loved being South African, and we met in '98, and he went to Bible school in 1999.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I was very clear that as you know, the time we dated for a long time. I guess because it was long distance. I was in Joburg, he was in Pretoria, and he started pastoring in 2002. So you know, from 2002, we knew that now we want to get married. And for me, I wasn't going to resign, so I had already started working.
Okay.
So I didn't want to resign from my job then. And my family was also telling me the same thing. You know, like Matika, you said that society standards are not God's standards. And society felt that I can only move to Botswana once I have a job here, you know, for security. And you know, sometimes the Lord just wants to take you on his very own journey. But with God's providence, a lady came to our workplace in 2002, I think, or one. And you know, she was an older lady, and she was already married, but we became very close. She sort of like became a mentor to me, and we spoke a lot about family things. And what, you know, amazed me about this lady is that she used to, when she started working, she was working half day.
Okay.
I was not used to that. We just knew that, you know, what very rich white wives do that. You know, they work half day, but with us, you know, we're trying to run away from the poverty that we came from, and we're trying to make the money. So like this lady, she's black and she works half day, you know. So she told me that it's because her son is still young. She only had one child at that time, and he was 4. And she was speaking about how she wants to pick him up from school every day, so that in the afternoons she's there for him. So you know, I became close to this lady, and then I knew that and my husband then was pastoring in Tsavo. You know, Tsavo is 530 kilometers away from here, and over 1,000 kilometers away from Johannesburg. So towards our engagement, I knew that, you know, through learning with this lady and the literature that she gave me to read, I was like, if I'm going to put family first, you know, I'm going to have to resign. And his vision was clear in that he wants to be a pastor in Botswana. God has called him for people in Botswana. So, and you know, I did have ideas in my own head that maybe he will, you know, studying in Hatfield, he was studying at Hatfield Christian Church, and maybe he'll get, you know, employed there and work there. I used to entertain that thought or that fantasy in my mind, but he was very clear that no, he was very clear that I'm for Botswana. And even after we got married, about 7 months later, I moved back to South Africa to work in my post to fill in for the person who had filled in for me for about 5 months. And even then, I wanted him to get a job in South Africa to be, you know, so that we continue living in Pretoria, and he works for Hatfield Christian Church. But he was always very clear, God has called me for Botswana, and you know, if he's going to minister in other nations and to other people, it will be much later on. But primarily, his vision was for Botswana. Yeah.
Interesting. Makeni, at such a young age, how did you know this is the vision that I want to submit to? How?
Okay, at first I was a bit confused. I was like, I'm still schooling, and by that time he was working. So I think I was doing second year.
Okay.
I was doing second year, so I was like, I don't know. I was like, I will see how everything goes. But after a few months. After a few months of our dating, then I was like, you know what, I have to move to South Africa. Then that's when he resigned at where he was working. So I was like, okay, if you're moving to South Africa, how long are you going to be there? I don't know how long I'm going to be there. So I was like, okay, fine. I don't have any choice. I'm schooling, so I can say, no, I'm going with you. No, I just continue with my schoolwork just to graduate. So I would say his vision was very clear because he knew his calling. You know what? He was just there to submit under a certain man of God in South Africa. So I was like, you know, he knows his vision. So I'm just going to there to learn a few things. Then I'll come back. So I was like, okay, no problem. When he came back, few months, then we got married. After he came back from there, he was being ordained as a pastor. Then he went to Maun, still long distance relationship. I was still in Gaborone, him Maun. So he left Maun to come here to get married. That's when I moved from the church where I was fellowshipping to move
To his,
and I would say his vision was very clear. You know, he wanted to be in Botswana. He knew what he wanted to be in Botswana, lead the ship here in Botswana, not South Africa. So I was happy about that. No, Botswana is small, so no problem. That's when I knew about everything about his vision. I would say his vision was very clear.
Okay, Matikan. We all have dreams. I believe you were living in South Africa and you had to leave everything that started to come and join him aside. What happened to your dreams, some of your dreams? If you could just tell us about probably what happened to your dreams, some of your dreams, because at times we are told we'll have to submit our dreams under his big vision, right? So how did you feel about coming this side to live in Botswana, leaving your family, living probably your dreams that you had outside? Probably you wanted to build a house in South Africa or something. I'm just giving an example. So what would you say about your dreams?
I think when it came to the issue of relocation, as you already said, Orena is not willing to relocate that side. I think with my husband, when we were still friends, we would talk for long hours. So he'd ask me questions. So how would you feel if you got married to a man from Swaziland? How would you feel if you got married to a man from Mozambique? Would you be willing to relocate? What would happen to you? This and that. So I think he had prepared me psychologically. I was already expecting to relocate. But when you have already set a vision for yourself in this particular place, and relocation might inconvenience some of the plans. Because some of the plans that I had made, like the company that I was owning, it was good in South Africa. When it comes this side, the market is overpopulated, so it won't strive. So I had to give up the company and close it down. And I used to have a place that side. I had to sell it because, trying to build and to really become one. But one of the things that I've learned is that life is sacrificial. You need to give up something in order to be with the one that you love. And secondly, in issues of dreams and in marriage, I believe that marriage has to do with two individuals. So even when you are married to a person, there's still that individual aspect of yourself that needs to be maintained, you see. So for me to relocate, I had to enhance my dreams in order to fit being married to him, so that they complement each other. One of the dreams that I had was to own a clinic, in clinical psychology. And I was looking at that, and I remember my husband telling me, you don't have to give up this psychology thing, the dream that you have, because I'm a doctor. And in actual fact, you can actually co-run a clinic as a psychologist and a doctor. So now the dream does not submit. It now comes and we are partnering. The second thing on issues of ministry is I'm called in the apostolic, and he's also called in the apostolic. And according to you can't be two apostles and get married. But what they don't understand is, as an apostle and him and as apostle, we carry different messages to the church. But the messages that we both carry, when they come together, they complement each other and they can actually build the nations of God as a team. So my dreams didn't really die; they actually enhanced. Like marriage, it grew me. It made me have a broader perspective of the nations, and instead of just dreaming of, I'm going to have a master's and I'm now aiming for a PhD, because it's marriage is something that has to grow your dreams. They don't have to die, and they don't necessarily need to submit. They need you need to find a common ground where you join your visions, and they complement each other enough to become something that you build together. So even in your individuality, there has to be that team aspect that does even greater things.
Okay, interesting. I love that. It enhances. Okay. For you, Mambuhan, about the dreams and plans you had aside and having to come this side.
When I was, like I said, I had already started working, and I was very ambitious. And at that time, I don't know how old you were in the early 2000s, but in South Africa at that time, it was soon after democracy, and so there was a lot of opportunity for black women, especially young black women. There was affirmative action, and so there were just a lot of opportunities. A lot of my friends and peers at that time, you could dream big. You know, so I was in the food technology industry, and I wanted to go into marketing, you know, with food technology and that. I mean, there were just so many opportunities. And, you know, the Lord just took me, when I came here, on another turn, you know, where I was no longer working in the food industry. And when I came here, I couldn't get a job, you know, in the food industry for the longest time. I actually, except the time when I went back to work in South Africa, I've never worked in the food industry in Botswana. But once I struggled a bit when I got to Tsabo, you know, because I was like from the city to the desert. And I really struggled. I threw tantrums. That's one of the reasons why I went back to work in South Africa.
Okay.
But as soon as I accepted it, there had to come a time when I needed to accept being with my husband, because I realized that is what I wanted. Because when I was working in South Africa, I was also pregnant with our first child by then, and I was so emotional because I wanted my husband close and he was far, and I would cry and I would feel misplaced because now I was like a single married woman, you know, and that wasn't nice. So I had to come to a point of making peace with and prioritizing correctly. So I had to put my marriage first and then start dreaming again. You know, that's one of the things. So when I became silent and now started listening to God, then I knew that the Lord wanted me to work with my husband in full-time ministry, to really understand ministry. You know, not a lot of, well, when I came to Botswana, not a lot of pastors' wives gave up their careers or whatever to join their husband. We know how it is in Botswana. Someone can work in Kasane and the other person lives in Gaborone, or, you know, it's very, very common. And, you know, as I looked around, I wanted to conform to that, you know, use it as an excuse, just so that I don't stay in Tsabo. But as soon as I made that decision to settle, and I you know, then I watched a lot of Christian television and reading, and, you know, and then I had this love for women's ministry, you know, and that is, I've really been able to, all the congregations that have been pastors, I've really been able to build women's ministries, you know, children ministry, but mostly women's ministry, and it is still a big dream of mine to, you know, work in women's ministry, build women up, cause women to arise, and you know, so it was enhanced as well, you know, that, and my eyes were also opened, and I could dream afresh in line with how the Lord had called me.
So the Lord allowed you to dream again.
Yes.
I love that. And Maki, what about you in terms of your dreams? You're still a young lady.
Yeah, I'm still
probably you wanted to do modeling or something. I don't know.
I won't say my dreams were affected by any way, because I was still schooling. Actually, after I got married, that's when I graduated. So I won't say my dreams were disturbed in any way. Right now, I will say I'm working, but it's still temporary, but I'm still working what I have studied at school. You know? So I won't say my dreams were affected by any way. Actually, he keep on pushing me to continue to do better. He doesn't like someone who stays home. You know? He wants you to work hard, to hustle, and make your own money also as a wife. You know? So I won't say my dreams were affected by any way.
Okay.